Hello, everybody, and welcome to week four. As usual, just sending you a quick video for the week. First of all, I wanted to thank those of you who attended our Thursday night sort of synchronous instruction. As you know, obviously it was not mandatory, but it was really nice to be able to see some faces and some returning faces, people I'd met before. But it was just really nice to catch up. As I've mentioned before in my videos and probably in what I write every week, I think it's a really important piece as part of your educational experience to have that sense of community, and it's challenging when everything is done online. So it was really great. I'm hoping to have at least a couple more synchronous experiences. One possibly with a colleague of mine who's produced a short documentary on um, technology and the effects of technology, or digital technology rather, on really young children. Even though it's not exactly relevant to the elementary age class that we're dealing with, it's really a good thing to add some insight into what we're talking about. So that would be one option, and then also trying to invite some of my other colleagues to join us in a conversation just about technology. And some of the folks that I'm thinking about inviting are sort of more old school Montessorians that may, again, add some insight. Um, because again, this course is not meant to tell you the right answer, but rather just sort of help you think about things as you form your own opinions about how technology influences education. So I will keep you updated on those things. This week is week four, as I mentioned, is a blended week with three, and so I would use this week as an opportunity to get caught up on all the work that you may be missing. I've graded most of the week two papers, and so you should have those in your emails. And if you have any questions, obviously, please let me know. But please, there are some of you that have not submitted the second week paper, so please use this week to try to get caught up. I know it's a challenging time in terms of just where we're at with our school years. Many of us are on spring break. So, obviously after a really tough couple years anyways, maybe you want to use that time to refresh, which I certainly think is really important. But again, use that time to get caught up on your papers. I will probably be sending out individual emails to those of you who have sort of fallen a little farther behind. Again, my goal with this course, especially in light of what many of us are dealing with in our own schools, is not to sort of penalize you for being late, but really try to coach you through and get you through this course as part of your completion of a master's degree, which is a big deal. So, anyway, that's just some housekeeping stuff. One thing I wanted to mention this week, which was an interesting point that somebody brought up, and I can't remember if it was a paper or a response, but as we're talking about digital technology and how to infuse it into our classrooms, one of the challenges is the learning curve for teachers. And by learning curve, I'm not meaning to imply that teachers are sort of slow in learning new things, but what's really happening, and I've experienced this myself, is schools adapt technology so quickly, and there's so many new technologies coming on board, that schools will say, we'll often jump from one to one, be like, oh, let's try this for this year, and then it probably doesn't work so great, and then we jump to something else. And what's really happening is, the teachers are already overwhelmed, don't have the time to learn the technology, and then because they don't even know it, they're certainly not implementing it or using it with any level of fidelity. And even if they did understand how to use it, who has enough time at the end of their day when they're working with kids and dealing with, dual platforms of online and on-site? Who has time to go in there and add comments and put work in Google Classroom or Montessori Compass or Transparent Classroom, manage back? I mean, all these different things. So I guess my point is that we can have the greatest technology and the greatest options available, but what happens when we just don't have enough time to use it or learn it? And when schools are jumping around from one thing to another thing because it's not yielding the results that they feel could potentially be possible. And so I think that's a real interesting point that somebody brought up. And I hadn't thought of it really in terms of this class, but as I read that, I was thinking about my own experience and the experience of parents. One of the major, well, I'll call it a major criticism of Montessori, but I don't really think criticism is the right word. But one of the complaints is that parents don't feel like they have an understanding of what their children are learning. And I think that exists at the elementary level, and it certainly exists at the secondary level, where academics becomes a more important piece. Of course, we have people that believe in Montessori, but as their kids are getting approaching those ages where even approaching high school, where grades matter and getting into college matter, they want to know what their kids are learning. And then when they ask their children what they're learning, they say, "Oh, nothing." Or "What did you do today at school?" "Nothing." So there's a need to know what your children are doing, and technology provides the framework for us to share with parents what we're doing. But again, that question of who really has time to put lessons into Google Classroom and grade papers with any level of expediency that it can get to parents with any meaning, and I don't know what the solution to that is. There are some large school districts, or even probably small schools, that have that time, that PD time, geared towards training teachers. But I feel like we're already so swamped with how do we fit in our observations, how do we actually spend time with children, and how do we balance all of that out and then throw in the need to learn new things and report things in a new technological platform? Is it sustainable? Is it manageable? And my experience with adopting new technologies is that I don't have time to do it. And so I don't know what that means for us in the long term, but it's an interesting thing to think about. And I guess, and even if we can't do it, what are our options? If people aren't accepting, paper narratives of how their children are doing, or the basic grading scale of introduced, working towards mastery and then mastery, if they can't accept that in a graphic form, maybe we have to go to some of these more complex, but when are we going to have time to learn them? And so I guess sort of the ultimate thought is that we're in a bit of a conundrum in terms of how do we use this, how do we use these new things? And as an administrator, one of the things that I try to do and have struggled with is how do we streamline our processes and our systems so we're not using so many different platforms, because that gets confusing. From a parent perspective, one of the common ones is we have one platform that we use as an SIS, a student information system. We have another one we use for tuition management. Then we have another one we use for an LMS. And then we're using something entirely different for our mass communication. And so when parents are getting pushes and emails from each of these different platforms, they also don't have time to go through and read and learn. And so there's a breakdown somewhere. And I don't know what the solution is, but it's something interesting to just think about as we proceed through this course. So, anyway, that was my babble for the week, and I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope those of you who are behind use this week to get caught up. And again, as I've mentioned many times, please don't feel ashamed to reach out if you need more time. My goal is not to catch you and trick you into something and say, "Aha, I got you, you're late." No, my goal is to help you be successful in this course and be successful in your master's degree. So please just feel free to reach out should you need any additional support. Thank you so much.